So should we move on to the next country?
Yeah. So moving on to China, there are a few bunks that there are a few myths that some people were wondering about. So they asked, do Chinese people actually believe that the abduction of Chinese celebrities, or do they believe in the abduction of Chinese celebrities? So basically, this is a very complicated topic because it can't be too generalized or broadened. Basically, there are a few incidences, yeah. For example, the recent little issue where Jack Ma, the CEO of Alibaba Group, the Ant Group, has basically disappeared for 2 months because he has criticized China's financial system, which is linked to the governmental choices and interventions. And since then, he has not been seen. So that is one example, although it is not clear that what happened to him or where he is. It's very recent, so not a lot of people are sure, especially in a country where a lot of information is kept inwards. Yeah.
Wait, so as you are Chinese, like what's your reaction to that? Do you feel threatened by the government, or like if you see these celebrities or CEOs going against the Chinese government, like do you feel that they are like heroes because they're saying the truth or something, or do you feel like that's too much because I love the Chinese government?
Okay, so personally, I feel like it's important to be able to express your own opinion and to have freedom of speech. However, I do sympathize or understand where the government is coming from because there are a lot of people in China and there are obviously going to be so many different opinions, and if the government really had to deal with all of the different opinions or even threats, it would take a long time, and hence why it's more of a communist party where it's more like you have to not offend the government in any way, which kind of leads to the thing where people can be blocked if you search anything that offends the government, if you say anything, if you transfer anything, they will find it. So the information is very open to the government. Yeah.
So do these disappearances just happen to famous people or celebrities, or would like a normal citizen?
No,
like, do they
probably.
fear
Yeah,
disappearances?
exactly. Of course, it's not just celebrities, but most of the time, celebrities do have the urge to kind of stand out and tell their own opinion, which kind of results in these little situations.
So you, as a citizen, would you be scared of like of expressing your?
Well, I'm not a citizen,
Oh.
but if I were, I don't know. I think it's something very complicated and depends on someone's values and their context, because if it was my father, he does not care. He thinks that's the right thing because he loves his country and he thinks it's the best for China. But if you were to ask my sister, maybe, where she's like more of a teenager, she would be like, no, human rights, I need my freedom of speech, which is like very democracy based.
So do you believe that like there would be a lot of Chinese that internally think this whole system is really bad, but then on the outside think and say as if they are so okay with the system? Like they fake their actual
Opinions.
thoughts? Yeah.
I think to an extent they do feel like they're kind of limited to what they can express and cannot express because they know the consequences. However, it's been like that's all the Chinese people kind of know. It's not like that extreme. It's just anything to do with the government, or like you can still get VPN and go onto Google or YouTube.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter. The government can't really stop that. It's kind of just like a compromise spot for both the citizens and the government.
So do you think it's been an effective strategy to like, quieten the people and like, have them not raise very controversial opinions?
That depends, because that depends on which areas you're asking me. Because if you were to ask about people being open and being able to actually express what they feel, of course it's something that has limited what they can actually, their creativity and how they can perceive things, or they can just,
So, okay, that was interesting. So our second myth is, are Chinese actually okay with the China's communist society? I think it is pretty in
it's
line
kind
with
of
the
flowing into it.
first myth, but are actually Chinese okay with this?
That depends, because the population is huge. There are many different groups with different values. I feel like the older and traditional population, they are fine with it, since that's all they've come to know. Yes. Also, but as Sana even said, in Poland, people that have more education from the outside world or have more exposure to like other opinions and ways of countries doing stuff, I think that can be quite controversial. So yeah.
Just like a curiosity, but like thinking about the protests in Myanmar and like all the countries that experienced a democracy protest, like a protest for democracy. Do you think that China will like one day somehow experience that revolutionary protest? Like,
where people kill?
no, not kill, but like they fight for like freedom of speech and like, do you think that it will happen one day?
Maybe. That is something I cannot say for sure. But I do feel like the younger generations do definitely have more of an opinion as well. It actually has happened in the past, like way before, like way before. I don't know the exact name of the event, but there were protests and the government did kill people. It was like a mass killing. Yeah.
So there's
But it's very controversial. Like, no one can speak of it in China. When I went on camp, like, we could not speak a word of it. It was so scary. Yeah.
wow. So do you think it has something to do with the population and like people and like that, I don't know, value on each life, because there's so many, there's like, it doesn't matter if some die, that kind of a thing, because I've heard that a couple of times.
Wait, can you rephrase that question for me?
Like I've heard a couple of times that people believe that because there's so many people that some lives if lost don't matter. Do you think that it's a common like?
Well, I think the government, when they rule, I don't think they really care about the individual lives of people, but when it actually comes to a personalized like situation, if your family or one of your family members is gonna die, of course you're not gonna be happy with that. So it depends on like people and relationships. But as a whole, I feel like, like one person's life is not as valuable as a group of people's life. So, yes.
It's not a specific question for you, but like in general, if we're thinking about like the social system in general, like I heard communism really wants people to be equal, right?
Yeah.
Equal, and their level of income should be like distributed really evenly and stuff. But aren't there also really rich and wealthy people in China, and also like
For sure.
yeah, but how does that work if it's like a communist society?
Okay, communist, I think it's what you're talking about is more egalitarian, where everyone is equal. But communist is more like when they can, where the poor people still can be have access to stuff, as well when one party is in charge of multiple different, make the choices, the ultimate choices. But of course there's so much what's the word?
Capitalism.
Yeah, there's a lot of capitalism. But it's weird because it's communism mixed with capitalism. You do have to go by the government through everything. Like the private firms are private firms in quotation marks, but you still have to go through the government with it. Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to get to know more about the myths from India and South Korea, go check out part 2 of this episode.